I would have thought that the conservatorship would have been brief, maybe 1 or 2 years. I don't understand why it's gone on so long.
When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Free Britney!
Hey there, I'm Jenson. Today we are talking about conservatorships, and I don't know if you're anything like me, but I only really started hearing about them when Britney Spears' battle to end her conservatorship made it to the forefront. So, what even is a conservatorship? How does Britney's conservatorship compare to others? And why, even if you don't care about Britney, you should probably care about this case. I talked to distinguished UT professor Eric Chaffee about all of this to get you in the loop. Okay, so first, what the heck is a conservatorship? Basically, it's when a court appoints a person to manage the financial affairs of someone who's considered incapacitated or not able to take care of it themselves. They may also serve as a guardian who's responsible for monitoring this person's health and managing their living arrangements. Now, every state is a little bit different with the specifics, but in California, where Britney's case takes place, both roles are called a conservatorship, with the guardian role referred to as conservator of the person.
With conservatorships involving the person, basically you're looking for a circumstance where somebody is incapable of basically providing for their own personal needs, including things like physical health, food, clothing, shelter, etc. Whereas with a conservator of the estate, you're looking at a person who essentially is substantially unable to manage their own financial resources, or in the alternative, basically to resist fraud or undue influence from other people.
And right off the bat, Britney's case is atypical.
And certainly Ms. Spears' case is a very odd one in the sense that usually this device is used for people towards the end of their lives, and Ms. Spears is relatively young and incredibly vital, and doing a lot of things out in the world. It's an odd case in the sense that both are being applied to her for a very, very long period of time.
So what's the deal with Britney? Well, let me try to give you a quick-ish recap. In 2008, Britney's dad, Jamie Spears, was granted the conservatorship after she struggled with her mental health and was hospitalized. After her release, an LA court made the conservatorship permanent. This left her estimated $60 million fortune in the control of Jamie, which included the power to negotiate things like work opportunities and contracts. And up until 2019, Jamie largely had control over Britney's personal life. But in 2019, a professional named Jody Montgomery was appointed by the court to step in and act as a temporary conservator over Britney's personal matters while Jamie struggled with his health at that point. Through most of the past 13 years, Britney's been pretty quiet, but in the last year especially, she started speaking up, most notably about wanting to end her conservatorship, or at the very least, remove her father from it. If the conservatorship must stay around, Britney's urged Montgomery's role to become permanent as a conservator of her personal affairs and for a separate trust to be set as a conservator of her estate. Are you with me so far? The court has recently nudged a little bit in her direction and designated Bessemer Trust to join as a co-conservator alongside Jamie of Britney's finances. But after an emotional plea from Britney in court, and one day after an LA court denied her request for Jamie's removal, the trust says they want out because, from what they could tell, the conservatorship wasn't consensual. Now, what exactly did Britney say in court? Well, a lot. And some of it was shocking. The singer called the conservatorship, quote, abusive, saying it's doing more harm than good. She called out those running it, specifically Jamie, saying he, quote, loved the control to hurt his own daughter. Now, Jamie did dispute this after her appearance, saying he was sorry Britney was hurting and that he loves her very much. But what might have been the most troubling thing to come out of that appearance was a claim that Britney made that she wanted to marry her boyfriend and have a baby, but that the conservatorship wouldn't allow it, and that she's being forced to use birth control against her will. So with those claims out there and in the open, it's made a lot of us wonder what sort of autonomy those placed under conservatorships really have.
It's going to depend on a mix of things, meaning what the court's willing to grant. Is it a conservatorship of the person or conservatorship of the estate? The oversight that the court provides, is going to be involved there, what they're willing to authorize the person to have power over. Beyond that, the conservator himself is going to matter. It's going to be a different experience having somebody's parent versus versus having an entity that's an institutional trust. It's one of those things where this device is designed to basically take over somebody's life where they're incapacitated.
And how much control does she have over who controls her estate?
It's something that's definitely taken into account, and she can petition to have him removed. But at the same time, if he's not willing to budge, that can be relatively difficult to do. And part of the problem here is, despite the fact that there are some issues with the amount of control that's been exerted, Britney Spears has an amazing career, and she's continued to have an amazing career during this conservatorship. And as a result of that, the court, I think, has some reluctance here to remove it.
You'd kind of brought up something about how the conservatorship was successful, or looked at as successful because Britney was successful. Could the alternate also be said that she's successful, so why does she need, you know what I mean? She's capable of doing this work. It seems almost like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I agree with that. Part of it is that the Britney who exists today is a lot different than the Britney who existed in 2007. Is the conservatorship responsible for that? Is Britney responsible for that? Is it some combination? What happens when you remove the conservatorship? And one of the things you can say in response to my argument that, well, her celebrities continue. She's a star. People want to go see her in Vegas. People want to go see her perform. Is that, well, if you would have taken the conservatorship away, she might have been even more successful, 5 times more successful, 10, 20, 30. Obviously she is a very talented performer, a very dedicated performer. In regard to this, she looks very capable, meaning that, it's an interesting question as to how the court is balancing everything that they're seeing.
But something important to keep in mind is that we only see a small sliver of Britney's life, and we don't know what happens behind the scenes, and most importantly, we don't know her personally.
We as the public know that Britney Spears is a competent performer, has built an empire in regard to her talent, but we don't have a good sense of some of the mental health issues, possibly some of the addiction issues that have been alleged. The relationship with her children, the relationship with her other family members.
So what's it going to take to hashtag free Britney? What happens next?
So, the idea is that what this device is designed to do is to allow for the takeover of somebody's life, and that's what's happening. It's an interesting question of what ought to happen next. My guess is the court, by trying to appoint a institutional trust company here to be the other conservator, and to let Jody Montgomery take over as the conservator of the person, that they're at least considering staging this out. They're going away from somebody who's a parent who likes to have a lot of control, at least based on what we can see. But it doesn't seem like Jamie Spears is ready to do that, and he may never be. It's one of those things where we may see this battled out in court for years to come, and certainly it doesn't seem like the stars out there are going to give up on this. The statements from Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera and a whole bunch of other people, I don't think they're going to let this die down.
But maybe you're not a fan of Britney, and maybe you quite frankly don't care what happens to a rich celebrity who you'll never meet, but you should still care about this case and this type of law, because really it could have implications for all of us.
I think this is something worth caring about, meaning that this is one of those things where as we all age and we live longer, there are greater and greater risks that we're going to have some form of mental incapacity. And while this might be an odd case because it involves a celebrity and somebody who we in a certain regard watched grow up, it has implications for all of us. And it's something where we ought to really care about this law beyond caring about somebody who's an interesting person and an incredible talent.
That's all I have for you today. If you liked this video, hit that like button, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Jensen, and now you're in the loop.